Welcome to the lecture series on scaling up. And in this strategy, what I'm going to suggest you do next is that you run a blacklist campaign. So, what is a blacklist campaign? Well, if you recall on a previous lecture, I showed you how to set up a whitelist campaign. And if you remember, a whitelist campaign, you're targeting a very specific number of widget IDs, and you hit up your rep on MGID and you told them, hey, I only want my campaign to target these widget IDs. Remember how I showed you in Amstrex how to do that and export the widget IDs? Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to do the very opposite. So instead of targeting a very specific list of widget IDs, what we're going to do now is target pretty much everything in our product category, everything possible within our targeted geo and devices and so on. And the reason for that is because it's just gonna allow us to spend so much more money. Because if you mentioned, or if you recall in the previous lecture, how I told you how you should increase your budget, eventually you're gonna get to a point where you're increasing your budget and then all of a sudden you're not spending that much every day on MGID. Now, one thing to consider, of course, is that you have enough money in your MGID account, more than enough to fulfill those daily spends. But besides that, if you're not spending what your suggested budget is, then it's likely because you have nothing else to target. With a whitelist, again, you're targeting a small amount of websites and widget IDs, but with a blacklist, we're removing that limit and now targeting multiple website, multiple widget IDs, and so on. And this is going to give us so much more volume and a chance to scale up our campaign even further. Now, one of the problems you're going to run into when you do this approach is that you'll notice that some widget IDs have a better conversion than other widget IDs. For example, let's say widget ID X gives you 200% ROI, and then widget ID Y gives you negative 20% ROI. Now, why is that? Well, chances are it's just because the traffic from that source or widget ID or website is just lower quality or not targeted as well as the other widget ID. It could be also that they're bots, they don't convert at all. There is unfortunately fraudulent bot traffic out there where some website owners use MGID, send them fake traffic, and make money that way. So you have to watch out for that. And the way to do that is when you go into your statistics or selective bidding section of the campaign, you'll see the widget IDs here. Of course, this is the tutorial test account here, so I don't have that shown here. But you'll see the widget ID, and of course, you'll see in your tracker the widget ID, and you'll see how much it spends. You'll see the ROI, you'll see the conversions, etc. And you could control it within MGID by simply reducing the bid if that helps it helps it to be profitable, or you could simply block that widget ID, remove it, pause it, so on. The main point now is when you're increasing your budget and you're going with a blacklist, first of all, you should consider not increasing your budget as fast in the beginning because you want to look out for fraudulent bot traffic. So if it's not holding up ROI wise, simply cut that widget ID from your targeting. And that's pretty much going to be the name of the game when you're doing a blacklist campaign. You already have your campaign profitable, you already have it fine tuned, and you're just scaling up by spending more money on more websites. So your job now is just to identify which ones are profitable and which ones are not, which ones are bot traffic, and so on. Now, typically, a general rule of thumb is if you're spending 2 times the payout on a specific widget ID and it's not converting as well or not at all, you could simply pause it and cut it out so that another widget ID could take its place, and you could determine using that same general rule of thumb whether you should continue spending money on it or not. So just keep that in mind. The name of the game, see which ones are profitable, see which ones are fake bot traffic or not a good performer and cut those out of your campaign. And simply look for opportunities for more widget IDs that are profitable. That's pretty much the main strategy behind that. Hope that helps. This is Paulo Perdue from libertyblueprint.com. Take care. I'll see you on the next lecture.